Well, a full-blown war could overwhelm the Iron Dome, the cornerstone of Israel's defense system. That is according to US officials. Little surprise that rare warning came down in a week when we have seen increased signs of an expanding war on the Israel-Lebanon border. Let's take a closer look. This very latest round of hostility kicked off with this video. 9 minutes of purported drone footage released by Hezbollah showing civilian and military sites some 30 kilometers into Israeli territory. It reached as far as Haifa port, arguably one of Israel's most important economic lifelines. Reaction inside Israel was naturally fierce. The government reminded Hezbollah it would be destroyed in a, quote, all-out war, with the cabinet announcing it has approved in principle plans for an offensive in Lebanon, though putting plans into action, of course, is another story. Never one to sit back quietly, Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah weighed in with his own televised speech, boasting that the group's growing capabilities and even taking a dig at the Mediterranean island of Cyprus, which he accuses of aiding Israel to prepare for potential war. Now, this is what you need to know. The Centre for Strategic and International Studies calls Hezbollah the most heavily armed non-state military in the world. Most estimates put it at having around 45 to 100,000 soldiers and upwards of 150,000 short, medium and long-range rockets. Well, for months we've been reporting on flare-ups along the Lebanese border and the spectre of a wider regional war. While both sides may want to avoid that, the reality is that in these situations, things can break loose from a single miscalculation. The longer this back and forth goes on, the more likely that becomes. So how expansive are Hezbollah's capabilities? And how much more than psychological warfare are we looking at this point? CNN's veteran Middle East correspondent Ben Wedeman is in southern Lebanon to help us unpack all of this. Ben, let me start with the US voicing these concerns. I just want to remind our viewers the purpose of the Iron Dome system is designed to intercept incoming rockets with a range of up to 70 kilometers. Nasrallah on Wednesday boasting that his military had only used a portion of his arsenal, and here is more of what he said.
The enemy knows that no place in the entire state is safe from our missiles, and it won't be arbitrary. Everything will be deliberately targeted. Washington
concerned that Hezbollah could overwhelm this Iron Dome system. Multiple sources have told CNN that. Could Hezbollah easily overwhelm this system?
Becky, I don't think it could overwhelm the system, but it definitely could punch some serious holes in it. I mean, for one thing, what we've seen since October is that Hezbollah has been focusing specifically on knocking out Israel's surveillance equipment that keeps an eye on what's going on the other side of the border. And for instance, we saw that 9-minute video of a drone over Haifa collecting all sorts of intelligence on sensitive military positions. We saw also recently a video put out by Hezbollah showing them knocking out an Iron Dome battery. Just last night, Hezbollah on its Telegram program channel put out a video of some sort of projectile knocking down what's called the drone dome, an anti-drone system. So clearly, Hezbollah has the capability to really knock holes in that critical defense for Israel. You know, back in May of last year, I covered a brief war between Islamic Jihad in Gaza and Israel, and I saw firsthand how effective the Iron Dome was in taking down almost every missile fired out of Gaza. The Israelis say the efficiency rate is 95.5%. But Islamic Jihad and Hamas are completely different creatures than Hezbollah. Now, earlier, Becky, you were talking about the numbers, perhaps 40, 50, 100,000 fighters Hezbollah has, but it's not necessarily the numbers that count. Lots of non-state actors have lots of fighters, lots of countries have lots of soldiers. But what I've seen over the years, going back to the 1990s, when Hezbollah was fighting Israel in the south of Lebanon, trying to drive the Israelis out, what was clear is that these fighters were, for one, dedicated to the cause, and another, very well trained and highly disciplined as well. I've come in contact with, ragtag militias in Africa, the Middle East, elsewhere. But in terms of just organization and discipline, there's really nothing that compares with Hezbollah. So their ability to use high technology, to use laser-guided missiles and other sophisticated systems could easily knock out a variety of Israel's defense systems, parts of it. I doubt the entirety of it, but certainly enough to expose a large part of the population of northern Israel to Hezbollah's weaponry. Becky?